It's Triple H's world now, and we're just living in it. It's This Week in Regret. Hello and welcome to everyone. Triple H took over for WWE Creative from Vince McMahon roughly 2 weeks ago, and excitement over the main roster product is the highest it's been in some time. Since Triple H has taken control of the creative direction, we've seen a lot of big returns and call-ups, including Bayley, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Karrion Kross, Scarlett, and Dexter Lumis. And without potentially spoiling any rumored names, I'm sure that after this video's been published, at least one more Triple H guy will be back on TV before Smackdown's off the air, because that's just what happens now on Fridays. Needless to say, we are firmly in the Triple H era of WWE now. No more speculation should be around here as to whether or not Vince is secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes. In just 2 short weeks, this new regime has the entire wrestling world talking not just about what they've already accomplished, but what they could still accomplish, what new names could be coming back. And that kind of excitement and speculation, I think it's great. Who would have thought it would take ousting a 73-year-old carny from the show to truly shake things up again? Of course, it's still going to be a long road ahead for WWE to really repair the viewer trust that they have eroded over the last several years. These shows aren't perfect yet, but there's an immense potential for them to be good, especially when they're being run by someone who has an attention to detail and long-term storytelling. Think of just how gripped the wrestling landscape was on Monday night over a crashed car in the background of a promo. And keep in mind, this is all from this last couple of weeks. Only 2 weeks have passed, and things are already exciting in the short term. Imagine what the wrestling landscape could look like in a few years, maybe once those AEW contracts of guys like Andrade El Idolo, Bryan Danielson, Malachi Black, Swerve, Keith Lee, William Regal, Samoa Joe, maybe even Jon Moxley. Once those deals expire, what will the landscape look like then? Of course, simply having people returning and showing up is not a replacement for good creative, and I'm sure Triple H is aware of that. Getting these short-term pops is one thing, but the real trick will be having them weaved into regular storylines, all while keeping things consistent and balanced. It's the same problem that AEW's been having with all their signings over the last couple of years. It's fun to see all these returns, but remember, there is still a gaggle of men and women in the back who are gasping for airtime as it is. And so getting all these people to come back, it's cool and all, but then what happens to the spots that those other people were taking up? But speaking of AEW, what has me really excited about Triple H's influence in WWE is how all these big moves that they're making could help kind of increase and elevate the wrestling world at large beyond WWE. I mean, look how AEW has responded in the last couple of weeks to all the big moves that WWE's made. They've brought back Bryan Danielson, they brought back CM Punk this week, the pending returns of Adam Cole, and of course the heavily rumored Kenny Omega. Those are going to be some big names when they're all come back and firing on all cylinders again. And don't forget Impact Wrestling, because they still have a great product. They're always kind of lurking in the shadows and everything. They have great stuff as well. And I feel that with Triple H coming in here and all the excitement surrounding WWE, that's going to motivate and inspire the other big companies in this country to do the same thing and pull out all the stops that they can. It feels like we're in the midst of another arms race here in wrestling, and I'm very excited about that. Maybe not an arms race in terms of talent per se, but maybe in terms of creative and trying to doing what they can to get the most eyeballs. I think that there is a lot of palpable excitement coming from wrestling fans everywhere as a result of this, not just WWE fans, but just wrestling fans at large. So I tell these wrestling fans who are so steeped in their ways, I always talk about tribalism and the wrestling wars here, I say put down the pitchforks, put down the torches, and all the hot takes, folks. Drink it in, because I feel that what we're going to see for the rest of this year going into 2023 could be a really big time for professional wrestling at large. So sit back and enjoy, it's all I'm going to say. Also, I want to address something. I made a statement a long time ago I was going to bring back Raw and Smackdown reviews eventually, and of course now that things on the shows are more interesting than they used to be, a lot of folks have been asking me lately when those reviews are going to come back. Well, this is my statement on that matter. At this current phase in my life, I do not have the time or the energy or the drive to watch 5 more hours of wrestling content each week, and then film and edit reviews about them. I simply don't have the ability to do that anymore. I have the energy to watch 1 show of wrestling a week and review it. That's Dynamite, and I'm fine with that right now. And let's be honest, y'all have not liked the people I have hired to do that job for me on this channel over the years. So those are my choices. And so right now my choice is to not put out Raw and Smackdown reviews for the time being. And I understand that upsets some people, and I apologize for that. But don't worry, because it's not as if I don't talk about about WWE here on this channel. I obviously cover, the current pay-per-views, premium live events, what have you. I do prediction videos for those. I talk about WWE news right here on This Week in Regret. So once again, I apologize for no Raw and SmackDown reviews. Not in the cards right now. Maybe somewhere in the future I will have the motivation and the drive to bring those back, but right now it's just not happening. So again, I apologize for that, but don't fret because I am still, of course, covering WWE in some form or fashion consistently right here on the channel. Speaking of Triple H, his longtime friend Ric Flair is already back in the news after having his last match. Take a look at this footage from Puerto Rico last Sunday night. The Nature Boy was in the corner of his son-in-law Andrade El Idolo, then got into a confrontation with Puerto Rican legend Carlos Colon. Later on his podcast, Flair quipped that he already wished he hadn't said that Nashville would be his last match, and he's made it clear he's not quite done in the world of wrestling. Look, whether or not he said that in jest, I think I can speak for a lot of people here when I say Nashville was a great send-off. You ain't gonna get one better than that at this point. I mean, after what he got in Orlando and in Nashville, can we all just canonically agree that it's done at this point? I don't mind Ric Flair coming back for like a run-in, throwing some chops or anything like that, but a whole another match? Rick, booby, please don't. We have an update on Vince McMahon and his massive financial mismanagements. It was reported this week that WWE now has to correct for an additional $5 million on top of the $14.6 million that Vince paid several women over the years in non-disclosure agreements. But this new chunk of change may not have anything to do with his affairs at all. It's been reported by Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics that a pair of payments in 2007 and 2009 totaling $5 million actually lines up with a pair of donations made to the Donald J. Trump Foundation in that same time period. The issue here is that there are some discrepancies with how the money is being categorized. WWE initially filed those donations to the IRS as being from the company, though a spokesperson in 2012 said the money came directly from Vince himself. In 2016, they clarified, saying both Vince and Linda McMahon made the contributions, and they weren't related to any appearances Trump had made on television. So it doesn't sound quite like a scandal on the level of Vince and his NDAs, but miscategorizing $5 million is still no small issue, especially when it comes to the IRS. Now, I'm no billionaire, but having miscategorized some money here and there in tax returns over the years on accident, that's led to quite the headache. So I can't imagine what WWE is dealing with cleaning up Vince McMahon's mess. Man, it's hard to think $20 million spent on Donald Trump and Vince's assorted dalliances. Remember back in 1997 when he was too broke to afford that same amount for Bret Hart? Oh man, how times have changed. We here at Wrestling with Regret wish to honor the late, great Judo Gene LeBell, who passed away this week at the age of 89. Known as the godfather of grappling, LeBell first came up in the world of judo before transitioning to pro wrestling. He was well versed in submission grappling and went on to train many competitors in his own right. LeBell and his brother Mike ran the NWA affiliate out of Los Angeles from the 60s to the 80s, but just as important as his work in combat sports was his influence in film and TV. As an actor and stuntman, LeBell earned more than 1,000 film and television credits, including one we're reviewing right here next week, the 1986 film Bad Guys. Finally this week, a wrestler with a Hall of Fame caliber resume may be done with the sport. Earlier this week, a fan tweeted Mickie James asking if she would be Asuka's partner in the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship tournament, to which Mickie replied, quote, "No, I feel I'm done in wrestling." In a follow-up tweet, she wrote, quote, "What's left for me to prove anymore? What else can I do? I'd rather bow out screaming women's wrestling matters from the top of the mountain than the valley." Well, if this is indeed the end of Mickie James's run as a wrestler, then I'd say what a hell of a ride she has had. I mean, from her humble beginnings, working in the independents and early TNA, and of course, women's extreme wrestling, to entering WWE with a very memorable storyline with Trish Stratus, going on to have so many great matches and storylines and accomplishments in WWE and in Impact Wrestling, becoming a multiple-time champion across both shows, her experience as a producer, her experience as a country music artist, and of course a huge accomplishment was just this year at the Royal Rumble when she appeared in the Women's Rumble match as the Knockouts champion in a true Forbidden Door kind of moment. Pardon the cliche, I guess. Mickie has truly done it all, and I think that, when it all's been said and done, she is going to rank up as one of the top female performers of all time, I would say, especially in the last 20-25 years. So for me, on behalf of everyone here at the channel, thank you very much, Mickie James. What favorite Mickie James matches or moments might you have, folks? I want to hear about that in the comment section. That's going to do it for this week in Regret, folks. Thanks so much for watching or listening if you're on SoundCloud. Don't forget this Saturday on the channel, stay tuned for my long-awaited Nashville vlog. I'm talking about StarCast, Ric Flair's last match, my interview with Saraya, and a whole lot more. So until then, folks, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.